Hello, honorable delegate and ladies and gentlemen. I consider it a great honor to give a speech at this conference where we are gathered to discuss important international academic issues. My name is Yoon and I'm a research professor of General Education Research Institute at Sungmun Women's University in Korea. The topic I'd like to address today is a case study for writing education in developing soft skills and vision for a writing feedback system based on a learner-centered approach. The keywords of my study are as follows: soft skill, writing center, general education, digital native, writing feedback system. Today, I'm going to share my view on the need for new knowledge and competency-based soft skill to writing education. With the development of the internet, knowledge has become easily accessible to all. In this rapidly changing era, new 21st century capabilities are needed. Higher education institutions play an important part in aiding human capital to meet the requests and expectations of society by producing skills for the 21st century. Soft skill boosts competency and consequently observes one's ability, and soft skill acquisition has the potential to transfer and create knowledge based on the requirement of society. Various abilities such as adaptability, autonomy, communication skill, cultural sensitivity, and critical thinking can be classified as soft skills. Soft skills are cultivated through education designed for learners rather than instructors. If hard skill relate to building knowledge, soft skill requires more fundamental skills, focusing on executive function like thinking, taking action, and problem solving. Writing education also needs to change in consideration of this point. Accordingly, a universal writing curriculum that cultivates soft skills is needed. Many people still believe that writing center teaches hard writing skills. These opinions fail to consider the changing education paradigm. Today, various search engines are widely used and online content is constantly being updated. Knowledge accumulation is no longer significant in this media explosion era. The power of thinking and applying the knowledge is needed. Moreover, critical thinking is indispensable to learning in this new era, since it relates to finding, planning, and innovating an effective solution to a problem rather than repeating existing answers. One must first learn how to think to write well. Writing education aimed at improving soft skills and discusses the education that writing center offer. The future society needs professionals with competencies such as effective communication and a capacity to think critically and creatively. In writing education, these abilities cannot be developed only by simple mechanical correction. In addition, personalized education must be provided according to the characteristics of each person to enhance individual abilities. So personal counseling is necessary. Individual counseling about writing and interpretation is an effective way to develop soft skills. Writing Center can deliver mentoring, which is lacking in current university education. To meet this need, many Korean universities currently operate a writing center. It supplements their writing course curriculum since it is difficult to provide personalized writing counseling during a regular university course to many students. Providing students with individual feedback lies at the core of the writing center's function. Feedback motivates students to learn and helps them grow through self-assessment. The first goal of my today's presentation is to focus on writing education, which is general education, and examine how it can cultivate future competencies based on soft skills, and verify the result through educational assessment at writing centers. To this end, the Korean Writing Center's educational service and the assessment they utilize are examined. Writing education in many countries is currently being reconstructed based on learner-centered theory, regardless of national differences, responding to learners' needs. Since education focuses on developing hard skills is often unilaterally delivered, such education is designed to center on instructors. However, interaction is essential to cultivate soft skills, which are essential in utilizing that one has learned. Writing centers aim to cultivate soft rather than hard skills, focusing on learners rather than instructors. This study examined the educational method that enables students to measure the effectiveness of their writing education through personal achievement. This promotes soft skills, which can serve as an indicator of thinking and applying knowledge. The second goal is to discover the necessary innovation for the digital native generation of students by understanding who new adult learners are. Recently, technology-enabled educational innovation to drive the transformation of learning method has attracted significant attention. Korea has a high digital capability and internet penetration rate and has recently implemented digital competence enhancement education project. Currently, Writing Center in Korea provide online feedback system and digital classroom. The online Writing Center was first launched to cope with the situation of COVID-19, but many universities in Korea are trying to make it an official center and utilize it as an educational writing counseling system for new education, even after COVID-19. When the initial design, writing centers at Korea universities were often modeled on American writing centers, but they differed from the American model and were constructively accepted. An external system was established in general modern education in Korea by adapting the American education model after Korean liberation. Kim translated the Writing Center in the United States into Sentence Counseling Center, introduced the subject of the establishment and current operational status of American writing centers, and emphasized the need for writing centers in Korea. According to Kim, 316 writing centers could be found on the American website, and the National Writing Centers Association was established. There were various entities in charge, including the English Department, the College of Humanities, and the Writing Center's head office. These were operated by English professor or exceptional writing center researchers. Graduate students whom the writing center had selected or trained, or in some cases, senior undergraduate students delivered the writing counseling. Counselors offer their service after being trained on the writing center's practical theory and teaching method. Counseling content covered many writing assignments, reports for significant courses, such as preparation, resume writing, resume envelope writing, and research plan for graduate school applications. This way, Kim conveyed in detail American Writing Center's operational status and presented legal hurdles of establishing such centers at Korean University, as well as the potential usage method and operating budget. As such, discussion about the necessity of introducing the writing center system in Korea began around 1999 and the 2000, saw an increase in the number of universities operating the writing counseling program. As such, discussion about the necessity of introducing the writing center system in Korea began around 1999 and the 2000, saw an increase in the number of universities operating the writing counseling program. Subsequently, 10 years after that, Writing Center in Korea attempted to communicatively expand from the primary limited function of correction writing and has actively established new extracurricular programs such as face-to-face writing counseling. However, many universities has only a small-scale writing center that is usually operated to support university financing projects. Due to the difficulty of arranging to finance, there are many cases where the writing center's operation discontinue after the funding project ends. For this reason, it is difficult to maintain a dedicated full-time staff. Many writing centers at the University of Korea aim for learner-centered operation. This is based on the constructivist view of education, a practical curriculum, and the active exploration of knowledge. An instructor is not a person who conveys knowledge, but a facilitator and guide for learners. Constructivism intends through autonomous task exploration and problem solving to cultivate soft skill rather than mechanical knowledge memorizing skill. Writing centers in Korea focus more on helping students set their learning objectives, learn how to write, and improve their thinking and problem-solving skills rather than merely correcting sentences or disseminating knowledge. In assessment, the degree of achievement based on educational objective is usually measured for value judgment. Rather than mechanically judging the fact revealed by numbers, a comprehensive determination should consider educational value. Tyler's conceptual definition is educational assessment that determines the extent to which educational objective has been achieved through teaching to conquer the challenges of the 21st century. High level of thinking skills, flexibility, innovation, and communication skill are required to adapt the change and apply knowledge in different contexts. These soft skills can be expressed differently in each individual. Since different methods are required to suit individual circumstances, education should be tailored to learners. Therefore, writing counseling services that reflect individual characteristics can be effective. In the new era, educational objectives should aim to develop soft skills. However, appropriate educational evaluation are needed to review which educational objective has been realized. This is because educational assessment induces learning motivation, bring learners to examine and develop their learning competency through evaluation. Motivation is an essential part of learner-centered education because it has a strong influence on learners' autonomy. The learning process is essential, and personal growth evaluation is more important than evaluating outcomes. One's performance does not mean obtaining good grades. Instead, it's a measure of progress toward building the capability needed to realize the goals. High grades and good evaluation results are not the goals in competency education, and acquisition of knowledge and skills does not mean the competency has improved. Educational assessment is only a process for obtaining basic information about educational outcomes, and even the most well-calibrated educational measurement tool has a limitation. Accordingly, it should only be used as a reference. It is impossible to assess student progress using a single assessment tool. Objective testing is an effective tool to measure knowledge, comprehension, and memory, which are required to cultivate hard skills. However, the competencies that constitute soft skills, such as thinking, creativity, and performance, are challenging to measure using objective tests. For writing centers, a growth or competency reference assessment is a more appropriate method. A growth reference assessment measures students' growth based on their history accumulated over multiple visits to the writing centers. The final evaluation compares the initial achievement before completing the curriculum and the achievement level after writing counseling, not the final achievement level. It provides an opportunity for academic promotion by looking at how much learners has developed according to the curriculum objectives. In writing, determining the final level of achievement based on the final assessment fails to reflect individual differences. However, a competency reference evaluation considers these individual differences by examining student efforts compared to their abilities. If students have done their best, they could receive a high rating even if their writing skills are poor and their achievement level are low. It's not easy to evaluate soft skills. Dyer of Deakin University in the United States presented a method for evaluating critical thinking, one of the essential competencies in writing. Please look at the next table. As shown in this table, even questions the literature leaves unanswered become an assessment element. Thinking about the contents that exist between the lines and questioning the contents has been excluded from the text, except the role of the writing clinic. These have traditionally been thought to constitute a writing competency evaluation item in writing education. Assessment in writing education in Korea are shifting towards competency evaluation and away from technical evaluation. The survey was received from Sungmyung Women's University students who have used online writing counseling programs since 2020. Writing feedback satisfaction survey result for students who completed the first semester of 2020 can prove the educational effectiveness of this program's merit. Since it's a women's university, all genders are women, and the survey was conducted using the Google Drive survey program from September 2 to 28, 2020. The students who used this service were all freshmen because they took general education courses about writing for the first grade, and the respondents' major were distributed in various ways. 97.1% of the students said they felt it was a good benefit for learners. The average learner satisfaction level was high, as it was greater than 3, which was the medium on the 5-point scale. Students were the most satisfied with not being restricted to a fixed place and time, being able to easily identify correction, annotation, and memo content, being able to view saved corrections at any time, and having access to their writing level and score on the general review and evaluation sheet. Result of investigating whether there was a difference in learner satisfaction regarding the inconvenience of the online writing feedback system's correction guidance showed no difference. Thus, there was no difference in satisfaction level, even though the application period was short, the number of requests was limited, or responses were not received due to the long waiting time. Students were still satisfied with the advantage of online writing despite some inconveniences. 91.2% of the students said they were generally satisfied with the response to online writing feedback system satisfaction. Students found it helpful. The online system enabled them to easily identify correction, annotation, and memo content compared to when these were written by hand. And since all feedback received was stored in the system, they could view it repeatedly at any time. Also, they were hugely satisfied with the accessibility of their writing level and score on the overall review and assessment sheet. Instructors can enter evaluation content in the system and check it easily. Coupled with the inclusion of objective indicators, this online feedback system not only helps students ascertain their achievement in writing education, but it's also more convenient. It's much easier for instructor to assess and store data faster online than manually filling each assessment table. If students receive writing counseling on several occasions, they can monitor their growth using their personal assessment history. Since the entire feedback process can be converted into data using the feedback history principle, it can assist instructors and learners in achieving effective teaching and learning. The advantage of the Sookmyung Women's University online feedback system is that students can set their learning objective. The system is equipped with a pre-selection item, allowing students to upload manuscript, write questions in advance, and input the goals they want to attain through writing counseling. When feedback is provided face-to-face, not many students ask questions, resulting in one-way, instructor-centered feedback. In contrast, pre-questioning through online feedback can be carried out relatively freely, less affected by the instructor's reaction. Thus, more active questioning is made possible. As the digital revolution accelerated information distribution and the internet took over knowledge production, the ability to compile and utilize knowledge, decipher the truth in information, and apply knowledge to new contexts have become more important than creating knowledge. Moreover, because society is constantly changing, there is no longer permanent validity to any knowledge. Accordingly, it is necessary to create an educational model that cultivates the ability to learn continuously throughout a lifetime using soft skills. Soft skills are difficult to measure and should be evaluated multifacetedly. Multi-source feedback can also be suggested as an alternative. It has the advantage of receiving multi-source feedback from various people. The existing education system selects competent students via evaluations based on the final result. However, writing center evaluation, namely growth or ability reference evaluations, place more weight on overall value production or an individual's growth. Participating, growing, interacting, and creating value is the key to future education. Assessment via traditional scoring is unsuitable for self-learning. Students should be able to assess themselves against their situations. Students are curious about how their writing level is diagnosed. Accordingly, an increasing number of writing centers in Korea are equipping themselves with an online system that can provide competence score in objective numbers. If evaluation criteria vary by an instructor or are subjectively selected, there is a considerable deviation in the research. Thus, it is essential to establish a system that automatically evaluates according to a uniform standard manual and correction sheet, because if deviation can be minimized, student satisfaction would increase. Today's learners are digital natives and they must receive a value-producing education with an emphasis on knowledge application so that they can adapt to the digital age. It's shown in the survey data analysis. It is necessary to think about who the learners of this era are and what they need, and provide an online environment tailored to their digital needs. Knowledge sharing and cooperation are the factors that should be considered, and this can be achieved more efficiently through online learning. To realize a sustainable general education innovation system, writing centers need to have various systems for class innovation. Education should be considered from an integrated perspective, and the fact that students have capabilities that go beyond report cards or scores should be considered. Based on the cases of the Writing Center of Sungmyung Women's University in Korea and the survey data, it is evident that the Writing Center's digital-based correction system make the process more efficient, provide quicker feedback and more data, and improve accessibility by removing time and place restrictions. Additionally, it increased interaction. The online writing center has the advantage of being able to save and record the growth process of writing. It is easy to compile a learning history that reflects student growth process with online learning. Standardized, quantified evaluation tools allow students to check achievement recorded as data, but this is not the same as comparative scoring because students can only check their growth without being burdened with rankings. Another advantage of the online feedback system is that reference material can be easily accessed online, and given that the ability to learn independently lies at the core of digital innovation, and that soft skills require active learning. So far, I have covered some topics of interest to writing education. I hope my presentation will contribute to enhancing. Through my presentation, I hope my presentation will contribute to understanding the case of writing education in Korea and think about the future of writing education. I sincerely thank the organizers and members of the society. I hope this conference will bear fruitful results. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.